Welcome, you're listening to The Best of Investing on Talk 910. You know our show. It's where we present valuable information about real estate, the financial markets, and other economic business of the day. And for those of you listening for the first time, here's our format. A few guys sitting around a bar, we've got a lot of guys today, sitting around a bar, having drinks without the drinks, talking business with you, the audience listening in. I'm your host, Edward Brown, and I'm pleased to have as my co-host Mark Hanf of Pacific Private Money, California's fastest growing private lender. Rick Warner will be with us a little bit later on from Keller Williams Realty. And we're welcoming back Lou Botmal of LPL Financial. Our phone number is 888-912-1190. Write that number down, 888-912-1190, because you're going to use that number to answer the trivia questions for 3 vacations given away during each commercial break. Today's trivia theme is Indiana Jones movies, our favorite. Our website is bestofinvesting.com. Check us out on Facebook and YouTube by typing Best of Investing Radio Show. We're also on television, Comcast Channel 26 and AT&T UVerse 99 on Saturdays at noon and Sundays at 6 p.m. Now, today's special guest is Adam Brown, no relation to me, from Hilltop Kia in Richmond. And the reason I had him on was that we just purchased a Kia Soul for my daughter. Nice. And I was very impressed with Adam because he was very honest, he was very intelligent, and there was no bait and switch or anything like that, and the price was very, very good. And he's going to discuss buying versus leasing a car. And audience, make sure you stay with us because he's got a fantastic promotion for our Best of Investing listeners. Adam, why don't you get right into leasing versus buying? Give us the difference and the advantages.
Okay, well, hello everyone. Thank you, Edward, for having me on your show. Leasing versus buying. A lot of people, about 80% of consumers tend to go the traditional route, which is paying cash for a vehicle or financing the vehicle on a typical 5 or 6 year loan. What is attractive to a lot of consumers is the 0% financing, 1.9, things of that nature when looking at purchasing a new car. But right now, leasing is coming back big time, and especially with Kia. Kia has some special lease programs that can actually assist people even with challenge credit scores as low as 620. Most manufacturers to lease, you have to have a 680 score above, but Kia just recently, last week, came out with some new promotions.
Yeah, that's a good point.
620,
that's really good because I remember it used to be really hard to lease a car. So now, 620, that's not too bad. Even I could qualify for that one.
Many of my clients could too, hard money loans.
That's right.
Yeah, they, as I mentioned, just until last week, it was 680 or above, but now they have the 620 to 639 is a tier 7 lease, as they call it, and then 640 to 679 would be tier 5 and 6, and then anything above 680 would be the best lease rate possible.
And I remember, it's kind of interesting because I've prepared tax returns for a number of years, and what they have with leasing is if you have a business car, you can write off the lease payment to the extent of the business percentage, but you have something called the inclusion amount. I mean, if you
it's a percentage,
yeah, exactly. If you do a Rolls Royce, I mean, they're not going to let you write off 100% of that lease payment. But when you work it out, especially in the beginning, the inclusion amount is not that much compared to the depreciation limitations.
So when you buy a car, you're not generally able to write off any of the purchase price, right? You can write off certain gas expenses or mileage.
No, but then you have depreciation.
Right, and depreciation.
But that's limited.
That goes quickly too. You lose it fast.
Right, and the lease payment.
Lease stays there forever. And the lease stays there forever.
Got it.
It's nice.
Yeah, because you're continually paying. So what are the other advantages, like within the payment? As I understand it, the sales tax is kind of spread out, isn't it?
Yes, that is definitely one of the big advantages. It's approximately about half of the taxes that you pay with your lease as you would with a normal finance contract.
And time value of money, that's always good to pay things later rather than earlier, right?
Right, especially when tax is going up.
Yeah, that's a good point. I know that there's some advantages. Like when we purchased the Kia, I couldn't believe this. We actually got an extra break because of the fact that I put the car in mine and my son's name, who's in college. And what was the college break for that?
Well, actually, yes, the college break, if you're currently attending or have recently graduated from a 2 or 4 year accredited college or university, including a nursing school, you can get a $500 additional discount. And all of the Kia leases have lease cash that ranges from typically $500 up to $2,000. So this would be an additional rebate. You also have a rebate of $400 if you're active military or if you've ever been in the military and been honorably discharged. You can also get that
Key
deduction
point,
as well.
honorably discharged.
Yes.
Darn, I don't qualify. No, I was kidding.
As long as you're not trading secrets with the Soviets, you're okay.
Yeah, really.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but I've always loved leasing my car because I just like the idea that I can drive a car for 2 or 3 years and then trade it in and get another one. And the monthly payments are lower on a lease generally than if I buy it with an auto
Sure,
loan.
because you're going to potentially give the car back after a few years
Right.
versus owning it. And if you own it, I mean, I've always owned cars, except one time I did do a lease. And the problem with owning it is that eventually when you want to get rid of it, what do? Put it on Craigslist, trade it in, whereas,
Right. What's it
with a
worth?
lease-
What's it worth to? Is a big. That's
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
And that's one of the things where, there's really three main benefits to leasing. One of the number one benefits is that with nowadays, technology is really, it's advancing so fast in the automobile industry. New cars, of course, have all the latest creature comforts. The technology advanced, faster than the length of a typical car loan term, which is typically 5 or 6 years. A consumer leasing a car, not only are they going to have the latest safety technology, they're going to have, one of the latest models, and it's really a good benefit because if your needs change, that's the other thing too. If you sign up on a typical 5 or 6 year loan, and if you need a bigger car, smaller car, if your needs change, then what do you do after 2-3 years? You have to go trade it in, you have to sell it yourself.
Okay, now I'm going to ask you, this is a point blank question.
Yes.
Is there we got to put the electrodes on him. Make sure he tells the truth. No, he's an honest guy. That's why I'm having him on. Is there any advantage to the dealership? Like, do they really care whether you lease or buy?
There's not a dealership advantage. Generally, when someone buys a new car and goes with one of the special rates, the 0.9s, the 1.9s, whatever the manufacturer has, the dealership just gets a flat fee, $150, something like that. Lease, it'd be about the same thing, a flat fee, $100 to $200.
So there's no incentive for you to push people to do one versus the other.
There's not. The one benefit to a dealership when a client leases is typically they're going to come back at the end of the lease to that dealership. And so that, of course, when the lease is over, the 2 or 3 year lease is over, that customer is going to come back with options to purchase out the remainder of the lease if they like the car, or to look to lease another vehicle, or of course to look into an option of perhaps purchasing a vehicle.
I want to ask one question along this theme real quick, because I know maintenance is a big part of your business, because you want people to come in for maintenance and do work there. But
Yes.
Being a financial advisor said, I get asked this question too many times to really speak of. And the one thing is, it's an asset. Everyone has assets and they have liabilities in their life. And do you view a lease as an asset or a liability?
Interesting question.
Yeah, it's a great question. A lease would definitely be an asset because, as I mentioned, most leases are 2 or 3 years. So one benefit is you're always covered under warranty. There's a lot of leases do come with included maintenance for the time of your lease.
Nice.
Or you can include it for very minimal cost into your lease payment. So I would consider leasing an asset.
That's a good question.
So you mentioned that the dealership normally doesn't care as a buyer whether I'm going to lease it or buy it. One of the things that I didn't know and I learned when I first started leasing was I can negotiate the sales price just as hard as if I were buying it as if I were leasing it.
That's
I think
a good
some
point.
people think that if you lease it, you have to pay full retail,
Whatever,
and you
yeah.
don't. In fact, I usually don't tell the dealership I'm interested in buying or leasing. I'm just interested in the car. What kind of
car,
price
yeah.
can I get for it?
And the question I have is, can you negotiate the residual buyout at the end?
So a couple things.
Ooh.
Okay, tell
Tricks
you
of
what,
the
we're
trade.
gonna cut to a commercial break.
Okay.
We're gonna get into that, and we have some other interesting things about leasing versus buying. Before we cut to the commercial break and the trivia question, tell us what this great. We're gonna mention the promotion now. We're gonna mention the promotion at the next commercial break. But go ahead, tell them what you're gonna give our best of investing listeners.
Well, here's what we're going to do for you guys. Anyone this weekend, today's Saturday or tomorrow Sunday, that comes to the dealership and visits us for a test drive or a free appraisal on their potential trade-in will receive a $50 gas card. No questions asked. Just come mention the show. Come see us in Richmond at Hilltop Kia. Ask for me, Adam, the sales manager.
I had gone to Novato because it was closer. And I really honestly wasn't even looking for a Kia. It's just that we were actually going to go look at the Toyotas. But Kia happened to be the one just before. I go, oh yeah, I thought I remember seeing something in the paper. So I test drove it, and my daughter and I, we both loved it. In fact, we're fighting over the car right now. It's because it's supposed to be her car. And so I test drove it, and I loved it. And then in discussing with the gentleman, it's like he really wasn't going to give me that good, honestly, that good a deal. And he ran it up the flagpole, supposedly. Probably was out having a cigarette, but the old game there. And when he came back, I said, listen, this is what I'm willing to pay for the car. And he just said, nope, sorry. And I go, okay. And the thing is, I think he thought because I had my daughter with me that it would be like, oh, come on, Dad, you got to buy it, right? I said, sorry, we're out of here.
And he was betting the averages.
He was betting the averages, exactly. That's why, I told him next time, just in general, keep the women out of this. Just do it with the guys. So anyway,
Good thing we're at 9:10.
Yeah. Well, I don't mean it's sexist. I just mean specifically with a spouse.
Yes, you're right, Rush. Yes, Rush.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah. No, anyway, so what I did was literally we went home and I decided, you know what, this really is the car that we want. So I made 2 or 3 phone calls, got a hold of Adam, discussed it with him on the phone, so that this is exactly the car I want, and he gave me even a little better deal than I was really looking for. And so the interesting thing in a situation like that is, okay, now I got to drive all the way to Richmond from San Rafael. I got
It's so close.
It's so close. Yeah, come on, I go with the story here. Go with the story. So I got to go over the bridge, and then I got to go to Hilltop Mall. Where the
Did
places,
you need a
right?
map, really? Did you need a map to get over there?
And in case anyone's wondering, we're in a very nice area in Richmond. We're
Yeah,
right
that's
by the
right.
mall, right off the freeway. You don't have to go through any
scary parts.
scary
That
parts,
is
so.
true. But the interesting thing is that I told Adam. I mean, we talked about the price, and then he literally faxed me or emailed me exactly what our agreement was ahead of time. So I said, okay, you know what? I really think this guy's pretty good. So sure enough, when I got there, he didn't change the price or anything. It was what it was. So that's my little plug for you, Adam.
Thank you, Edward. Appreciate
Hilltop
that.
Kia. Okay, we're going to cut to our first commercial break here, and again, the theme is Indiana Jones movies. Which actor played Indy's father in The Last Crusade? Don't touch that dial, because when the best of investing comes back, we're going to finish off about leasing cars or trucks or tanks or whatever. Welcome back to the best of investing. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Mark Hahn and our welcoming back Blue Bot Mall. First trivia question was, which actor played Indiana Jones's father in The Last Crusade? Mark.
That would be Sean Connery.
Sean Connery, James Bond. Okay, we are in the studio here with Adam Brown, no relation to me, but he is the sales manager at Kia Hilltop in Richmond. He's going to have, we're going to repeat the special promotion when we get to the second commercial break, but let's get back into some advantages for leasing versus buying a car.
Okay, thank you, Edward. So another advantage has to do with your cash flow in your lease. And one thing, if you have a business and you're going to lease it through your business, that is going to be something that will allow a business to purchase multiple cars, but not have it show up, as debt on their credit report.
Okay. They call it off-balance sheet financing for all you accountants out there.
I knew someone had a technical term around here. So
that's actually what it's called.
Are you
Well, the thing is,
prescribing that?
I mean, if you think about it, like when someone asks you for a financial statement and you own a car but you are making payments on it, that's a real loan. But if you're leasing it, you don't own it, so
Right.
it doesn't show up as a liability, right?
that is absolutely right. And
Let's back to that
I
asset
think
question.
What's that?
Is it an asset?
Oh yes, that's right.
I think during the break you mentioned something, Edward, about a phrase about not purchasing a car because of the depreciation factor.
Yeah, someone had said, never purchase an asset that's depreciating. I'm not sure about that. I don't know. I don't know, because to me, money is money.
Well,
you have to kind of look at
think about this. One thing a lease protects you from. Let's say you're 2 years into your 5-year purchase contract on your car.
Okay.
You don't own the car yet. I mean, that's one other thing where people say, well, I don't want to lease because I want to own the car. Well, when do you own the car? When the car's paid off. The end of the 5-year loan, end of the 6-year loan.
Wait a minute. So my house, I don't own my house because I have a mortgage on it?
No, you don't.
I don't. Oh, no, geez. Okay.
So with the lease, I mean, you at the end of the 3-year lease, if you love the car and want to own it, you already know what the residual amount is, which is basically your lease buyout amount.
Okay, question on that.
Yes.
Can you negotiate that after the fact?
No, that is set
That
by
is
the
set.
manufacturer. That's a
Okay.
set number
Right.
based on the model you're leasing, and that's the residual is basically a percentage. They base it off the MSRP value. So let's
Okay.
say the residual is 55%. You pay for the difference during the lease. You pay for 45% of the MSRP
Okay.
value.
Okay.
The reason they base it off the MSRP value is to have a standardized number. The purchase or lease selling prices are negotiable, as was mentioned.
Yeah.
But the residual is
Residual
always
is not.
based off a fixed number, which is the MSRP
Okay,
price.
that's fair. Okay, get into the mileage costs, because I know that you can, when you do a lease, it'll be cheaper if you say, gee, I'm only going to drive this thing, 4,000 miles a year versus I'm going to drive it 80,000 miles. So get into that.
Correct. So how that works is most leases, it's 12 or 15,000 miles a year
Yeah.
that you get. So if someone drives 4,000 miles a year, they can't do really anything less than 12.
12, yeah. And they don't, and it really, it's for 3 years, it's really 36,000. They're not going to make you,
Yes, however you use it.
however you use
Exactly.
35,000 miles in 1 month, and then you just kind of don't drive it for a while. Go ahead.
Now let's take someone though that knows they drive 17,500 miles a year.
Okay.
And if the top lease option is 15,000 miles, well, at 15 cents a mile, they can pre-purchase miles.
See, that to me is a major thing, because 15 cents a mile is really cheap.
$75 for every 500 miles. And at the end of the lease, if you missed your mark a little bit, well, at the end of the lease, it's 20 cents a mile. So you're not going to get hit with some huge penalty. If you're over
Yeah.
your lease by 1,000 miles, it's $200.
Okay, what about the part about bringing the car back and it's got damage?
Well, most people go
Bring
with
back half a car. Go ahead.
most people go with lease protection. It's wear care. It covers you for the things that you typically wouldn't file an insurance claim on. Curb damage on your wheels, cracked glass, dings, dents, scratches, things that you're not going to...
But you're not a very good driver, are you? oh, you're not talking about you.
Not my car.
Not
no,
your
of
car.
course
Okay.
my car's perfect. But and that brings me to a good point I wanted to make too. Is that when you finance a vehicle, if something happens, your car gets hit, gets in a collision, your car is gonna lose value because of that. Because now it has a dirty vehicle history report. Be it Carfax, Auto Check. So if you go to trade in the car, 3 years.
Okay, go ahead. Just keep talking.
3 years down the road, and and your vehicle has had an accident, that is definitely going to affect your trade-in value. If that happens to you and you're leasing the car, there is not going to be any adverse effects on you. You can just walk away from the lease. So it protects you if your vehicle is basically in an accident.
Okay.
As far as
Fair enough.
not losing the value, and of course, the more expensive the vehicle you're looking at, the more of an impact that potentially can have for you.
I just like the idea that you can buy more car with your dollar. The lease payments are clearly cheaper than the loan payments, and so you can buy up.
Absolutely,
Get a nicer
and,
model.
and that's why we have a lot of clients that haven't done anything but lease for years and years, because
Yeah.
every 3 years they get the latest model and
I know people like
latest
that.
safety, latest technology, all the gadgets and goodies, and they lease.
It's like a cell phone. Every time the latest cell phone comes out, they have to buy it.
So
Right.
can I turn in a car early on? How does that
Oh,
work?
good
Let's say
point.
I'm 2 years into a 3-year lease, and I keep getting mail from my dealership, showing, oh, come in and look at the new model, and it seems as though they're would like me to go in and maybe turn in the old one early and get a new lease, or can I do that?
You can, yeah. A lot of times, like for example, right now, Kia has a 6-month early lease buyout, and that's something that a lot of people do because with a lease you can put down a down payment just like you would on a purchase, and it's going to lower your lease payment, and it basically depending on exactly what the residual is at any time during your lease, you're going to have a lease payoff. So if something changes, you're going to move and you need to get out of it. What I've had some people do is they put down say $3,000-4,000 when they lease a vehicle, and they want to get out of it after only 1.5 years into a 3-year lease, and so they sell their car themselves. I mean, if the value of the car is equal to or greater than what your payoff is, your lease payoff,
You can actually make a little bit of money. Yeah, I've seen
Exactly.
situations where people say, just take over my lease. but they have to qualify themselves, right? I mean, because otherwise they won't let you off the hook, right? The dealer, the manufacturer basically won't. let you
Basically,
off.
to get off the hook, the manufacturer, the lease has to be paid off. And so sometimes
All
someone,
lease payments plus a residual.
the remaining lease
Okay.
payments plus the residual amount.
Okay, you can't, like, let's say both Lou has good credit, I have good credit, I'm the lessee, and 2 years into it,
You
I
can-
say I just want to get rid of the car.
You can transfer the
I can
lease.
I can transfer it to him, and I can
Right.
get off of it, can't I?
Yes.
Oh, okay, because
If
as
I
long as
qual- yeah.
if he qualifies.
Or
Okay.
someone can come in and trade in their car. I mean, you can, if you have 6 months left on your lease and you come in and you want to get a different car, we appraise it, and if the value of the trade-in is again equal to or greater than your remaining lease payments and your residual,
Sure.
your lease buyout amount,
Okay.
your residual amount, then you can do it that way as well.
Do you guys have any more questions? Okay.
I'm ready to go lease a car.
Yeah. Well, Adam, go ahead and remind our listeners the excellent offer that you're making for them.
If you come and see us, take a test drive or have your vehicle appraised at no cost, then we'll get you a $50 gas card. Just come in and ask for Adam and mention the show. And also extending through the end of the month, Wednesday the 31st. If you come in Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, same deal, then you get a $25 gas card.
Thank Adam from Hilltop Kia. Thank you very much for educating us about leasing versus buying a car. We're going to cut to our second commercial break here. Again, the theme is Indiana Jones movies. Ready for this one? What type of animal is Indiana's father scared of? Now, do we all remember what Indiana Jones was scared of?
Snakes.
That's right. So here's the question. What was his father scared of? The first three callers with the correct answer win a free 3-day, 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Their website is lighthouse4fun.com. Call 888-912-1190. That's 888-912-1190 to answer this question. What type of animal is Indiana Jones's father scared of? One more time, 888-912-1190. Make sure to include your name, email address, speak slowly, spell out your email one letter at a time. Don't touch that dial, because when we come back, we've got some very interesting email questions from some listeners.
Excellent.
Welcome back to The Best of Investing. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Mark Hanf and Lou Botball, and we finally got a hold of Rick Warner from Keller Williams Realty. And when we cut to the second commercial break, we asked this trivia question: what type of animal is Indiana Jones' father scared of?
Wombats.
Wombats. Rats.
Rats.
Rats. That's close enough.
Rats.
Okay, we're going to get right into email time here, because I thought it was very interesting that we got this one from a listener, and this one's right up Rick's alley. It says, Rick, well, basically it's, to the best of investing. Do you recommend your buyer clients to go in backup position or just look for another property? That's a great question.
Yep, that is a great question, and of course the answer always is, well, it depends. Every situation is different, right? But in a market where we're getting tons of multiple offers, and you're constantly competing, and if that was the case, obviously where you're being presented with a backup opportunity, I think quite often it does make sense to go ahead and take that backup position, especially if they're not asking you to change your actual offer. Keep in mind, they can give you what's called a counter offer with a backup that includes inking your price back up to whatever the winning bid was. And so then again, it goes back to the depends case. I'll tell you that if we're not in this crazy market where we have all these multiple offers, and maybe you were just one of 2 or 3 offers and you didn't really have to compete that much, I might suggest, don't put that, don't be in backup, because it almost makes the first position stronger. In other words, psychologically, of course, the listing agent's going to go back to the person in first position, and they're going to go, hey, by the way, we've got a backup offer. And it just makes the people in the first position almost want it more, and certainly they're not inclined to try and negotiate for other, findings through maybe inspections or whatever. So, does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that very much so. You were also mentioning just before we came back or came on the air again about things changing in real estate market.
Yeah, and it's funny because the paper is always, I'm just now hearing from people who aren't really paying attention to real estate, and they're just kind of hearing it in the general news. It seems like in the last couple of months, the news is finally saying, wow, the real estate market is hot, it's unbelievable, people can't get their offers accepted, yada, yada, yada. And of course, those of us in the business have been going, yeah, this has been going on for 17 months now, since February of 2012, but welcome to the party. Here's the thing. It's about to change again, and of course it'll be months and months before the news people pick up on this because they get, lagging indication data. But since we're on the front lines, I can tell you that 3 things have happened in the last 6 to 8 weeks that I think are really going to pump the brakes on this whole real estate market. Number one is something that we've been talking about for months. That is multiple offers, prices have been gone up considerably. And so let's say that we've gone up kind of on average around 20% in the last 17 months. Well, if you've been looking for a house for, say, the last 8 months, which is certainly common, that means your monthly cost of the same exact house has gone up about that, whatever, 20%, 18, 16%. So your monthly cost has gone up. Now, you guys also realize that the interest rates have been going up. They went up really severely. Pull back a little bit here recently, but they've gone up substantially, and Mark can attest to this, and Jeremy Forcier, our other co-host, when he's on. I mean, they've gone up about a full point. That's another 20% in monthly cost, which is another reason that these guys, these people that have been sitting there as buyers, their monthly costs have gone up by additional 20% on top of that other 16 or 18%. And then the last thing, the third reason is that you've got people in the neighborhood that are seeing these houses selling for, way more money than they thought. In other words, it got put on the market for, say, $550,000 and then sold for $650,000 or $700,000. And the neighbor's going, geez, if I could sell my house for that much, I'll put my house in the market too.
Of course, wasn't it at $900,000 prior to it going down to $500,000?
Well, that's entirely possible depending on what neighborhood you're living in. But remember, people, both in the good and the bad way, are looking at their most recent data usually. So if they've got a tax, property tax bill, or if they've tried to have their house appraised so that they can refinance, that's the most common thing. And the refinance guy says, it's only worth $500,000, and then the neighbor sells for $700,000, or you could, make the math anything you want. It only says it's worth $700,000, and now the neighbor just sold for $900,000. That's going to make people more apt to sell, and so you're going to end up getting more inventory, which is the other big driving force on this whole market. So you got 3 things that are pumping the brakes. Which is why I don't think it's going to pull back, or that we're not in the bubble or anything like that. I just think it's going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot easier. It's not going to be the absolute craziness that we've been dealing with.
Well, hey, Rick, I wanted to ask you a quick question. What about for years we've been talking about the shadow inventory? I mean, are banks starting to look at how much the real estate's gone up, and then if they've owned it, in their portfolio, they're going to start dumping it, or starting to do more foreclosures? Because it says foreclosures are down right now.
Absolutely. No, it's funny because, we've heard about the shadow inventory, this tidal wave of inventory. We kept giving these reports, it's going to be third quarter of 2009, then it gets, then it's going to be fourth quarter of 10 and blah, blah, blah. And, you don't really hear about the shadow inventory anymore. And I honestly believe that there is no shadow inventory. I mean, there may be some scattering of inventory that the banks have, ended up getting and then holding on to for one reason or another, maybe because of the robo-signing thing, maybe because of some lawsuits or whatever. I don't think there's some huge inventory, at least not in the Bay Area, where the banks are sitting there holding, waiting, and biding their time. It just doesn't exist.
Interesting. Well, I've always, Rick, myself felt and hoped in many ways that this rapid rise that we've witnessed this past year is more of a rubber band effect than a bubble, and I think the 3 things you pointed out are true. I would tend to agree. I would be really, really surprised if 12 months from now, year-over-year appreciation was even half of what it's been the last 12 months.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think exactly right. I don't think it's a bubble. I definitely think it's a rubber band. It's taking us to where we should have been. Keep in mind that the people that are buying now, these are real buyers. This isn't what happened in 2002 to 2005 and 6, where you had, subprime loans and neg-am loans, and this is real buyers going through real underwriting with real jobs and real income and tons of cash, as you know.
Interesting.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thanks, Jeremy. You're a wealth of knowledge. How do people get a hold of you? If
That was
they're
Rick, by
interested?
the way.
Rick, yeah. What did I say, Rich? Yeah.
No, you said Jeremy.
Jeremy.
Hey,
Did I say Jeremy?
Yeah,
Well,
it's all
my
right.
lending partner, Jeremy.
God, I don't know how I did that.
Ray, but this is actually Rick Warner with Keller Williams Realty.
I'm looking at you in the speaker box. You all look the same. Okay, so Rick Warner of Keller Williams Realty. Thanks, Rick. Okay, hang on for a while. We've got, let's see here. I tell you what, we're going to cut to a very quick commercial break because when we come back, we've got some very good questions for both Lou and Mark. Here is our third and final trivia question. In Raiders of the Lost Ark, what was the name of the character Karen Allen played? Now, you remember her? She was in Animal House. She played the girlfriend. Okay. And this was, Indiana Jones' supposed girlfriend, right? Don't touch that dial because we're going to be finishing off with the best of investing.
You guys are done for me. I can just dump. I can just
Okay. Great. Thanks a lot, Rick.
All right, Rick, see you later.
Bye-bye.
Welcome back to the Best of Investing. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Mark Hunt and Lou Botmall. When we cut to the third commercial break, we asked this trivia question. In Raiders of the Lost Ark, what was the name of the character Karen Allen played, his supposed girlfriend?
I just remember she was Otter's girlfriend in Animal House.
Otter's girlfriend, that is correct. No, Marion.
Marion.
Remember that? Oh, yes. Okay. Lou, we received an email that was perfect. It just sounds like it's right up your alley. What kind of investments do you recommend for college planning?
Well, there's a bunch out there. I try steering people to a resource online called savingforcollege.com, which gives you a list of everything, because there's Coverdale savings accounts to 529s to UTMAs or UGMA plans, things that people are used to from a long time ago. I'd say this. The most popular thing I think I see out there is 529 plans. These are tax-deferred vehicles where money goes in on an after-tax basis. It grows over time, and your kid can use it for anything related to secondary education. So they want to become a chef. They want to go to Q school for golf school, they say. They want to go to some vocational training. It doesn't have to be to University of Arizona or University of Illinois. It can go almost anywhere in the educational area. But the nice thing about planning for college now is that parents have more control. Years ago, you remember the UTMA or UGMA accounts
Yes.
people had, and those are pretty much by the wayside now. You buy stock in those, you pay kiddie tax and any growth inside there, so the parents actually pay tax in that. And then the kids control it when they're 18 or 21 years of age, depending on the state. And lo and behold, some kids went out and bought cars, not leased them. Just caused a lot of problems. But nowadays, parents control the asset in the 529 plan. It grows tax deferred. And then when they pull out for qualified college expenses, including tuition and room and board, as well as the educational expense, they don't pay any tax on it, which is really nice. And if they need to change it between kids or grandkids, they can do that all the time. And anyone can contribute to it, so it's really
Okay.
nice.
And Mark, the email we received for you is, something along the lines. It was a long email, so I'll kind of shorten it. Basically, how is your fund doing? Are you finding deals? I've heard that deals are hard to come by nowadays.
Well, the question sounds like it really is deal flow. And has deal flow slowed down? How's the deal flow going for loan applications for hard money loans these days? I'm president of Pacific Private Money. We're based in the Bay Area, and we provide loans to real estate investors, generally people who are buying, fixing, and flipping real estate, but we also make bridge loans and other types of loans on commercial property, et cetera. And I got to tell you, July is always a little bit slow because it's summer. People go off for vacation. So the July, August is for the last 5 years has been slower than other months. But I got to tell you that we see consistent deal flow coming in. So even though the housing market's tight and there are multiple offers on properties and a lot of people bidding on them, most of my borrowers are sophisticated real estate professionals who are finding deals out there that are off the market. Either they have a relationship with an asset manager or somehow they're getting inventory via short sale or pre-foreclosure. I mean, there's a lot of ways that you can find real estate opportunities out there. So our deal flow is really good right now, and so that transitions over to our fund. We just launched a mortgage pool fund for our investors, especially the ones who are frustrated about their inability to get in on individual trust deed investments. So this is the other side of the coin. I've got the clients who borrow money. I also have the clients who lend their money, and so we've done pretty good in launching that fund.
Well, I thought it was kind of interesting because I went with Mark. He was the guest speaker a couple of nights ago in San Jose, and the place was packed. packed, and it was mostly of real estate investors. So I can see where that deal flow is going to be coming in, because these people are looking, to get involved with real estate
Right.
investing.
Absolutely. So anyway, if you want more information about how to get a fast closing privately funded loan for your real estate transactions, whether it's cash out refinance or purchase money loan for your non-primary residence acquisitions, or if you're also interested in learning how you can earn, on average 8% or more on your savings or IRA accounts, call us.
And Lou, you got a couple of interesting things you want to share with us. We got about a minute plus to go.
Well, I just want to comment on the markets. I haven't been on in a while. I just want to talk about the markets, where they've been, and how we're seeing a general rise in the markets over the last couple of months. It's kind of funny. There's some acronyms for what's been going on. One is jobless recovery. One is a Fed-fueled rally. Others are called corporate welfare, and theyese are all true. There's cynical, highlight to what's going on in the business out there. But one thing's true: if you did not invest over the last year and a half in the stock or bond market, you actually lost money. Because inflation has come up a little bit. Unfortunately, unemployment hasn't come down enough. But remember, this is more of a sentiment-led rally versus a fundamental rally. Right now, we're in the middle of earnings season, so people are saying, what's this company really worth? What's Facebook worth? What's Microsoft worth? Both the stocks work inversely this week, but in the end, no one's saying the fundamentals are really strong, I'm buying this stuff. More saying, well, the Fed's buying bonds, and the Fed's fueling this rally, so I'm going to keep on buying. So when the Fed says I might not do that any longer, that's where you saw the general meltdown in June, and you saw the interest rate increase. So more of that activity to occur towards the end of the year. That's all I'm going to say. I have confidence, but I'm not looking for huge returns from here.
Well, okay. Very good. Believe it or not, we kind of ran out of time this time.
I know,
We're gonna
fast
have
show today.
This was a fast one, because we had a nice guest on there. Okay. My pet pig just lost his voice, and you guessed it, he became disgruntled. That's bad. Mark, stop sending me these. Oh, no, I tease Mark. And get this, it is illegal for a woman to be topless in Liverpool, except as a clerk in a tropical fish store. I don't know how they put those two together.
There's my travel plans.
yeah, exactly. I bet the fish have to close their eyes when they see that one. Okay, tune in next week to The Best of Investing. We're going to be giving away 9 more free vacations for answering trivia questions. Thanks for listening. On behalf of our team, I'm Edward Brown, wishing you the best of investing. So long. Welcome. You're listening to The Best of Investing on Talk 910. You know our show. It's where we present valuable information about real estate, the financial markets, and other economic business of the day. And for those of you listening for the first time, here's our format. A few people sitting around a bar having drinks without the drinks, talking business with you, the audience listening in. I'm your host, Edward Brown, and I'm pleased to have as my co-host Mark Hanf of Pacific Private Money, California's fastest growing private lender, and Julie Kennedy of Marin Modern Real Estate. Our phone number is 888-912-1190. Write that number down, 888-912-1190, because you're going to use that number to answer the trivia questions for 3 vacations given away during each commercial break. And today's trivia theme is prison movies. We're going to have fun with that. Okay, our website is bestofinvesting.com. Check us out on Facebook and YouTube by typing Best of Investing Radio Show. And we're also on television, Comcast Channel 26 and AT&T Channel 99 on Saturdays at noon and Sundays at 6 p.m. And let's get right into it, because Halloween is coming up pretty soon here. Julie, you want to share with us about haunted houses?
Well, I'd love to share about
I
haunted
love
houses.
haunted houses. Not living in one, but I love visiting them. Go ahead.
Well, I've always been a great lover of particularly the San Francisco architecture, and as a child there was a particular home that was rumored to be haunted in the Cow Hollow area called the Ilian House. So as a little girl, when they were demolishing it, I took a piece of the I guess it's called some kind of scallop work as kind of a talisman. And that's carried me through to my interest in haunted houses. So just wanted to share that there, on my website, I will have a link to all the haunted houses I can find in the Bay Area.
Oh, cool.
But specifically,
That's great.
there is one here in Marin County. It's the Boyd Gate House. It's next to what is now the Elks Club. And they had so much, it's now the Marin History Museum. But
Oh, yeah.
the employees there and former residents experienced lots of paranormal activity to the point where they actually had paranormal investigators come into the house in order to measure this.
Did we have ghost hunters show up?
Yeah, who are you going to call, right? So if any of you out there think that you might have some paranormal in your house as we head towards Halloween, there are people that can come out and verify that for
Okay,
you.
so give us examples of the paranormal. I mean, door slamming. and-
Yeah, a woman singing. That's what's happening at the Boyd house.
How about my wife saying, Edward, take out the garbage?
Well, that could happen too.
That could happen,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
That's scary.
Yeah. So now, because I'm thinking, okay, if I'm the audience listening in and I wanted to hear more about these haunted houses, you said you've got a blog?
I do.
Okay.
I'm going to put it, it'll be on our blog, which is, you can go to www.nestinmarin.com and find out all about haunted houses in the Bay Area.
And remember, that's blog, not blob. Because in haunted house, it's blob.
Nestinmarin.com, okay.
Yes.
Kind of fun. I like that little nest in Marin.
Yes.
Mark, you have a little something to share with us?
Of course, absolutely. Why would I be here? So, one of the more popular real estate blogs is formerly called foreclosureradar.com, now called propertyradar.com. In fact, Sean O'Toole is a fairly avid speaker around real estate events in real estate related events in California.
And he's been a guest on our show.
That's right. He's been a guest on the show, and so his report, talking about or basically, the news about the news on their website, and we had the September data come out, and so for the second consecutive month, September sales and median prices both fell in California, and they're attributing that as to a rise in the mortgage rates and the dearth, really, of foreclosures. Foreclosures have gone way down. And in fact, what's interesting, and Sean pointed this out, you would think by the headlines about how foreclosures are plummeting that we've basically gone through that cycle of foreclosures as a result of the market
One would
downturn.
think.
One would think, right, but that's actually not true. In fact,
Why is that?
he points out that despite all the foreclosures to date, which are around over $1 million in California alone,
Wow.
and these are from short sales, loan mods, refis, et cetera, there's still over 1.5 million homeowners who remain underwater, and so that's he points out that's only a bit more than 50% lower than where we were when we started 5 years ago. So there's still, as much as there's been in some opinions, a recovery in real estate. In fact, there has been. I mean, there's been some of it we've talked about in prior shows. I've called it the rubber band effect of prices dipping below replacement cost in many markets, which is just not economically sustainable. At
Sure.
some point, they at least have to go up. And so we've seen in some markets in the Bay Area pricing go up from the bottom as high as, year over year, actually, 20-25%. And a lot of that has to do with just, prices going artificially low. And so, notwithstanding, that growth and now the seeming lack of foreclosure activity, there really are still quite a few homeowners underwater. These are homeowners that have continued to make their payments, oftentimes it's their primary residence, and so they want to continue making their payments. I think a lot of the rental real estate, for the most part, that is or was underwater, a lot of that is gone. Although I do know, I know specifically people who have held on to homes through all of these years,
Yeah.
thinking that the market would recover sooner, and yet they're still underwater on rental property, and yet they have chosen to suck it up and keep making those payments, and even though hoping that recovery is underway and that maybe next year in 14 will look like 13, and then you will have another double-digit increase in pricing.
Well, it's also probably, they're emotionally involved, and it's kind of hard to walk away, especially if you've been making those payments all the time.
Yeah, but if you're a real estate investor out there and you think that you kind of missed the opportunity, I don't think that that's true. I think there will continue to be opportunities to acquire property via short sale and foreclosure and other opportunities, particularly if you're out there, looking for people who are underwater and looking for an opportunity out from under that situation. a lot of our borrower clients at Pacific Private Money are really astute at finding purchase opportunities out there and still buying properties at a good price. It's just that the MLS, if you're buying off the MLS, that's really tough right now. There's a lot of competition out there. Still, yeah. There's still.
Okay, now we're going to cut to our first commercial break. Trivia. Here's the first trivia question. Again, the theme is prison movies. Which 1994 prison movie starred Tim Robbins as Andy Dufresne and Morgan Freeman as Red? 888-912-1190. Make sure to include your name, your email address, speak slowly, spell out your email one letter at a time, please. Don't touch that dial, because when the Best of Investing comes right back, we've got some interesting emails where we're going to be asking Julie about staging a house, the pros and cons, and the one we have from Mark has to do with earning 8.5% interest on his fund. We'll be right back. Welcome back to The Best of Investing. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Mark Hanf of Pacific Private Money, California's fastest growing private lender, and Julie Kennedy of Marin Modern Real Estate. And when we cut to the first commercial break, we asked this trivia question again. The theme is prison movies. Which 1994 prison movie starred Tim Robbins as Andy Dufresne and Morgan Freeman as Red? Go ahead, Julie.
Was it Shawshank Redemption.
Excellent.
Worst name of a film ever, but one of the best films ever.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, very, very
Say that
good.
10 times fast.
Okay, Julie, we got an email here that's right up your alley. Do you believe in spending money to stage a house? What are the pros and cons? That's a great question.
It is a great question, and it's one that we're faced with every time we get a listing. I think today's market, buyers are so used to walking into a home that resembles a shelter magazine, just everything done to the nines. And what you're creating there is an emotional attachment immediately to the house. You can envision yourself there, see yourself there, because it's like walking into a Pottery Barn showroom.
Versus just going into an empty shell and imagining your own furniture.
Yeah, and empty shells are really difficult. And even more difficult, a home that's cluttered and not staged and not spruced up at all.
Yeah.
So I would say for a seller, the first 2 weeks that the home is on the market, they should go take a vacation, have the house staged, put it on, and show it to its best ability. And we're also including not just the interior, but the curb appeal.
Okay.
And we have an expression in real estate: you only get one chance to make a first impression.
That's true.
And they won't come back if they don't like what they see at the curb.
And generally speaking, what have you found the prices to range? And I know obviously if you got a $15 million house, it's going to be different than a $300,000 house.
Yes, and it really varies. I mean, there are stagers who will come in and work with your own furnishings, which is great. They'll show you what things to get rid of. They might bring in a few pillows and fluff it up, and that would be a flat fee, anywhere from $300 to $600.
That's really cheap.
Very reasonable investment. Or you can go full tilt, clear your house out, and have one of the premier stagers bring in their furnishings.
Well, especially if you've already purchased a house and you need your furniture.
Right. Exactly. So then you're looking at, you could be spending $8,000-$10,000,
Yeah.
and then hopefully it'll sell right away. If it doesn't, then you've got some ongoing costs. It's not as high as your first
Well,
shot.
and I've got to say that when we sold our house some years back, we bit the bullet and went ahead and did the staging. And the benefit that we saw was the fact that we believe that the house sold faster because of it. Because a stale house, the time value of money, it really is terrible.
It is.
No, absolutely right. In fact, when we buy fix and flip homes, which we're primarily we're lenders, but also I've worked with a few rehab clients, and we've done a few flips alongside them, and we've always staged the home. So and so we like the East Bay because there's just some great markets, Oakland, Hayward, Castro Valley, that have a lot of entry-level homes, and so we've spent anywhere from $2,500 to $3,000 on average per home.
No Picasso paintings and
No, but these are nicely staged. I mean, it's not high-end. I mean, we could spend $3,500 to $5,000 as well staging a 2,000 square foot home or a 1,500 square foot home. But again, there are some people out there that are there's price competition in there. But you're right. The homes sell faster when they're staged.
It's funny. I remember telling my wife that listen, you got to trust the realtor and the stager who usually work together, and I said, we're not going to be living there anymore. So if they want to, if they think painting the house pink on the inside is going to sell, that's what you do.
Exactly.
And in fact, now you being the realtor, you're not the stager, or do you stage also?
Well, my
Some people do both.
partner Natalie Kemp and I have staged homes in the past, to the point of even having a storage facility with furnishings in it. But we realized that we're realtors first, and stagers probably should be never. But that said, we will help a client who, if somebody is really pushed, you've got a seller who, has to get every single little penny out of the house and has no budget. We will help a client with staging. We'll bring in some.
Yeah, because if you're talented at it, that's the main key. And if you can save them some money,
Sure.
that's good.
So you're saying a homeowner who's had to move out of their house, now has it on the market, can negotiate with their realtor regarding the cost of the staging?
No. No, but what I'm saying is that, when you sit down with a seller or potential client, you want to find out what their budget is, if they have a budget, and if they don't, you have to hear that, respect that. But if you want to list the house, let's be creative and find ways to make your house look appealing and presentable on a shoestring budget.
Okay, and then also tell us about your blog for the haunted houses again. How did you
It
get
is nestinmarin.com.
Perfect. Okay. I've never done blogging before, so I figured it's something different. Okay.
It's easy to start. The hard part about blogging is doing it
Continuing.
consistently.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And so I've stopped and started and stopped and started. It is hard. If you don't
Time
do it,
consuming.
if you don't do it at least monthly, it's almost worse to have a blog where your last post was in August of 2009.
Well, you just have to hire a ghost blogger.
There you go. There
Oh,
are
we do
services
haunted
that will do
houses.
that. Yeah, there are media services that will do your Facebook posts, your LinkedIn. They'll blog for you. Of course, they kind of have to have an idea of what you do.
Yeah,
So,
that would help just a bit, wouldn't
at
it?
the end of the day, I still think I'm the best person to blog about my company.
Sure.
But there's only so many hours in the day, and we're all so busy nowadays.
And how long does a blog have to be? I mean,
Not long at
Couple
all.
paragraphs.
And actually, what people are really looking for, they want to see visuals. They love pictures. So sometimes it's not so much the written content, but what you're also showing them picture-wise.
Well, it's the information of value. That's really that you give information of value. Concise is always better. I'm not going to read a 7 or 8 paragraph blog, but I might read a 2 or 3 paragraph short paragraphs that give real good information or a link to a really interesting article.
Exactly.
Mark, we got an email here that someone who's been listening to the show for a while says, if I invest in your new fund, do I start earning that 8.5% interest rate that you've been talking about on previous shows? Do I earn that right away?
And the question was, does their money begin earning interest right away? Well, technically no, but for all intents and purposes, it does very, very quickly. So if you know anything about mortgage investing, or private lending, or if you participated in private lending before, maybe you've made a loan on an individual note where you funded that loan through the title company using your savings, and you got a recorded deed of trust as security. And the day you fund that loan is the day you start earning interest on that when you invest in an individual note. When you invest in a mortgage pool fund, there's a lot of great benefits that a fund has, in my opinion, over an individual note. But one of the things that typically does not happen is when you write your investment to the fund, it usually goes into a subscriber account first, where it sits until the fund is ready to loan that money out. Because you don't want to dilute the fund by having all this cash in there that's not earning any money. That's not fair to the other shareholders who invested before you. So,
But how long does that money sit there?
well, and that's the whole key. It usually sits there for anywhere from a couple of days to maybe 2 weeks. So it's really not that long. So one of the benefits of investing in a fund is your money goes to work for you very quickly, but not necessarily immediately. But oftentimes it might go to work for you more quickly than an individual note, because one of the nuances of finding an individual note is finding one that
Sure.
somebody else hasn't already committed to first. So there's a lot of competition for these individual notes out there today that didn't exist a couple of years ago, and so a lot of people are now turning toward the mortgage pool fund option to put their money to work right away.
But once they put the money in and then it gets transferred in this 2 days to 2 week period, it stays in the fund.
But once it goes into the operating account and is used to fund a loan, even if that loan pays back, you don't you don't give back, you don't put the money back in the subscriber account.
Yeah.
In other words, once your money is activated, so to speak,
Yeah.
you are now a shareholder, you are earning your pro rata share of the fund yields.
Okay, now it's, in previous shows, you anticipated you were going to be paying 8.5%.
Yes.
How's that been performing?
Well, we just did our third quarter distribution, and the shareholders all got payments equal to an annualized rate of 8.9%. So
Which
we
is
had
higher than 8.5.
a little bit.
A little
And
bit,
in
so
fact,
that's-
those that didn't take their distributions and reinvested their dividends, they'll, assuming we have similar activity in the future quarters, they would receive actually more than a 9% return on their funds. So for a passive mortgage pool-based investment, we think our fund has got some great features, some great safety and security features, and the yield is just phenomenal. I mean, where else are you going to find 8% or more on your money that's secured by Bay Area real estate?
And thoughts for the day. Milton Berle said, they finally come up with the perfect office computer. If it makes mistakes, it blames another computer. I like that. And when people ask me if I have spare change, I tell them I have it at home in my spare wallet. Tune in next week to The Best of Investing. We're going to be giving away 9 more free vacations for answering trivia questions. Thanks for listening. On behalf of our team, I'm Edward Brown, wishing you the best of investing. So long.